The More Show is in partnership with Ozark Mountain Publishing, taking readers beyond the unexplained.
If you like what you watch, then don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates on The More Show. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new weekly television and radio shows.
The More Show is supported by Mindscape, Paranormal and UFO Matrix magazines, available for download on all major digital platforms. The comments and views expressed on The More Show are those of the people that make them and do not necessarily reflect the view of Kevin Moore, The More Show, or this radio station and its affiliate or sponsors. This show is for entertainment purposes only.
Hello and welcome to the show. I'm now joined with Gap coach Suzanna Axisa. Susan calls herself the Gap Coach because it's her mission to help you close the gap between who you think you are and who you really are. She believes that the past is just an indicator of what happened in the past and not a foolproof guide to what will happen in your future. Susan states that you have all the information you need to know how best to resolve your difficulties and achieve your goals. Susan, welcome to the show.
Hi, and Kevin, could I just correct you on the name? It's Suzanna.
Why have I got Susan in my head? That's what's being channeled to me, you see, Susanna.
Oh, I don't have the faintest idea.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on the show because you're in Spain, are you not?
No, I live in Italy.
Oh, is it Italy?
We're an hour ahead of you. So actually, I decided not to go to bed because I didn't want to have to wake up halfway through the night and do a sleepy interview. So I'll work my sleep debt out tonight.
Well, look, I appreciate you having you on the show. For some reason, I thought the Spain came to mind, but no, you're in Italy because I remember you speaking to my James, our studio director. Just thought you mentioned Italy there. So yes.
Yeah. He said, "So where are you?" And I went, I live in the northeast, 2 hours from my favorite city in the world, which is Venice.
Wow.
Which is very convenient for me. Beautiful.
Venice is absolutely beautiful. So what does Susan do in the daytime? What is it you do, and what is the work that you do as well?
Well, I suppose to put it in a nutshell, I teach intuition. So I do an awful lot of things around that. I, for example, coach people to work through their issues using their intuition. So I'll do the work of a normal coach. I'll do some executive coaching. For example, I do work in the field of emotional intelligence. I do a lot of emotional intelligence work, which means that I do a lot of company teamwork, corporate teamwork. And so then it's classic coaching, really, with a bit of intuition thrown in, and you'll get, how come you always ask such good questions? I just don't know. And with my, if you like, my more spiritually attuned clients, then it's, they know what they're getting. And it's classic coaching, but obviously with lots of intuitive stuff thrown in. I have a 2-year Master of Intuition course, which goes right through from the cognitive work that's required for healthy emotional intelligence. Because if you don't have that in place, then your intuition can be as strong as it likes. But if you don't have good emotional intelligence, insofar as you don't trust yourself, you don't have a very good sense of your own worth, then you aren't going to trust and you aren't going to recognize your intuition. So there's a lot of that work that goes on, and anything that I can do to get the information out there about practical everyday intuition. I am not, I don't do structural intuition. I don't do medical intuitive stuff. I do basic, let's develop your sensory intelligence. And let's develop your emotional intelligence, and let's bring into that mix
Right.
naturalist and spiritual intelligence, which is there in us all, and so are all of the other forms of intelligence. But usually there's let's say, a bit of a gap between the emotional intelligence that you need to really develop and play on your potential and bring it out and have the life that you want. And the emotional intelligence that many of us have, which is where, to use the words of a brilliant psychologist friend of mine, we really simply get to live the life at the level of our wounds rather than at the level of our dreams. So practical, everyday, intuitive intelligence, definition, why I call it intuitive intelligence, why it's so important to see it as an intelligence rather than as a sense, and everything to do with how I can get you to develop it. Because if we put together what I see as the 3 building blocks of intuition, which is sensory intelligence. And if you think that we only have 5 senses, you have to think again, or go look at neuroscience. So we have sensory intelligence, we have emotional plus naturalist. And that SINE spells a Latin word that means without. And that sort of created an aha moment within me, because I went, yes, if we really, really want to become the highest version of ourselves, the one thing that we cannot do without is intuitive intelligence, because it comprises other forms of healthy, fully functioning intelligence.
Okay. So this is I might be, am I right to say this? This sort of my gut feeling, kind of intuitive intelligence as well. You know, does it feel right to do?
Yeah. Sometimes it's a does it feel right? There are. This summer has been an amazingly rich period for me, because I had my own radio show in the States for 5 years where I reviewed books in many aspects of the self-help movement. And so reviewing the books, I actually got to talk to the authors, and many of them are just amazingly interesting and dedicated people. And one of my favorite people to interview is Howard Martin, who's the number 2 at the Heart Math Institute in America, which is a form of research and education institute. And the research is headed up by the absolutely brilliant Rollin McCraty. And so I was talking to Howard on the program, and this little voice came through. And I thought, okay, well, here's a question that I have to ask. And I just said to him, you know, Howard, well, when you talk about heart intelligence, where does intuitive intelligence figure into that? And he said, oh, definitely a subset of heart intelligence. And every single one of the cells in my body screamed no. And I thought, okay, interesting response. Look at it later. So we finished the program, said thank you to Howard, and then just sat down and went, okay, what was that about? And, you know, you do the usual things of, well, how much of it is my ego? Because I feel that my work's been diminished because here is this, great man saying it's just a subset of heart intelligence. And again, the answer was very powerfully, no, this isn't an ego. You don't have that kind of ego around your work. This is because it literally isn't a subset of heart intelligence. And I thought, okay, this is getting really interesting. So I just sort of set my intention of, I want to know why I had such a powerful response. And if I had it because there's information that I can use, then find a way to bring it to me, please. So I waited until this summer. So about 9 months, I think maybe a year has passed between, getting the response of being Edvard Munch's silent scream on the bridge and getting the answers. And I was completely blown away by them. And this is a very long way to answer your question. So let me answer it now, because the information that came out of that whole experience with Howard on the radio program and my setting the intention was this, that there are 3 kinds of intuitive intelligence. There may be more, but this is what I've got at the moment. And the 3 kinds of intuitive intelligence work in different ways. And there are ways to spot which type of intuitive intelligence is working with you. Because when you see it, once you understand, oh, it's this type of intuitive intelligence that's working with me rather than another, then if you've done some work with me, either by listening to the various radio programs I'm on, or if you've joined one of my free webinars, or if you've, done coaching with me, then the chances are very high that you will have learned that not only are there 3 types and there are different ways of spotting them, but also that they have different roles. And so for one of the types, you may just get a very simple command or instruction or idea that either seems to be repeated over and over again, or it keeps coming back to you and you think, I have to do something with this because it's not going away, this thought, so I need to act on it. So that's one of the ways, one of the forms of intuitive intelligence works. Another form of intuition works because you seem to have a lot of choices.
Yeah.
Or you're worried about doing what's right. Or you feel that you've missed an opportunity. And the third form, you spot because you're comfortable with letting go of ideas, a sense of timing for when things have to happen, of other opportunities that previously you would have liked to have explored, or you would have been afraid of not exploring just because you missed something. You're comfortable with letting all of that go, the opportunities, the how and the when, because and you're comfortable with the fact that events will unfold in their own time and in their own way. And while they're doing that, while they're maturing, if you like an apple on a tree, then you're just happy to, get on with your day-to-day life. So in my experience, in the short time that I've had this level of detail, I've been testing it out on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. And every time I spot my intuition working or one of my clients' intuition working, I go, okay, how is it communicating? And does that match with one of the 3 types? And I have so far not come across any example of intuition working where I can't ascribe it to one of these 3 types. So yes, your answer is absolutely right. Sometimes it's a sense of this feels right, this feels good, it makes me happy.
Okay.
But not always.
Okay. Well, there's lots I want to get into on the next part of the interview as well. But just very briefly, while I stay sort of connected with who you are as well. Now, I've watched some of your YouTube videos, and I'm sure that you're doing some channeling work on there as well.
Yeah, I channel an ascended master called Lord Lanto, who in a previous life was Lao Tzu, the father of the Tao.
Where did that development of that come from? How did you develop to know that voice was there, that you could speak to it, you can get the answers that you're getting? Where did that come from?
Because I am a very reluctant channel. I learned very early on that my ability to see ghosts when I was a kid and my intuitive knowings freaked the adults around me, whether they were my parents or my parental surrogates, it didn't matter. So I learned that intuition was, I had to put it to one side if I wanted to get my basic needs met as a young child, needs for security and some level of acceptance. So the two major intuitive events in my life, three major intuitive events in my life, have all been repeated in sessions where I went for a channeling session with a trusted teacher who could channel. And the words have come through the ascended masters that the two of them, three of them were channeling.
Well, I've got to say that when I pressed play, I wasn't too sure what was going to be on the clip, and actually, what came through was something pretty amazing with what you had to say. I thought you were. I thought it came through very centered. I thought it came through very genuine, and I thought it didn't sound too much like yourself in a sense. It's not something that you could have just made up so easy, And I thought there was a lot of truth resonating from what you had to say in those sessions that you've recorded so far. I'm sure there's more that you've not shared, but
Yes.
that's an I mean, are you developing that side? I mean, is that something a road
No,
you're
we definitely are. I teach a lot in Norway, and I'm there every 2 months because it's where the 2-year Master of Intuition course started, and it's where the 2-year practitioners course will begin in October. And every time I go, obviously I have Master of Intuition students who are very wise and caring professionals with successful practices in their own right, or they're coaches. And I say to them, I want to do another session. You've only heard the first 8 minutes of it because that's all I post on YouTube. If you want the full hour, then obviously you have to come to the website and buy it for a very reasonable price. But the clients get to choose, and they'll say to me, we'd really like to do this. And when we were setting this up, they would say, well, what do we talk about? And I said, well, it has to be personal, because when you ask your personal questions, the master can answer in a way that answers your personal questions, but also gives an answer that resonates and has something for everyone within that topic. It could be health. It could be, we've done a series of conversations about different relationships.
Yes.
Your intimate relationship, your relationship with your parents, which is always a bit of a sticky one for most of us, and with your kids, because they challenge us.
Yes. Well, Suzanna, we are at the bottom of the ad break here, so we've got to take that ad break. But we're going to get more into this part of your work just in the next session. So after the break, the phone lines will be open for you to speak to the Gap coach, Suzanna Axisa, or share your opinion. You can call us on 0292 000 3666, or text your comments and questions to 07728 758 759. International listeners outside the UK may Skype the show by adding The More Show Live, or you may choose to interact with us on Facebook and Twitter.
The More Show is in partnership with Ozark Mountain Publishing, taking readers beyond the unexplained.
Visit themoreshow.co.uk/shop to purchase products and services from your favourite past guests. If you're new to this site, you can also catch up on the previous television and radio shows through YouTube and the More Show website.
The More Show is supported by Mindscape, Paranormal and UFO Matrix magazines, available for download on all major digital platforms. Broadcasting from the studios of Radio Cardiff, you're now watching The More Show.
Welcome back. I'm joined with Suzanna Axisa, who calls herself the Gap Coach because it's her mission to help you close the gap between who you think you are and who you really are. Suzanna, welcome back to the show.
Hi.
Now, we've had a number of texts that have come in, but I'm going to get to those shortly. Just before the break there, you were, talking about your trance work that you do. And, do you feel this could be, this kind of work for you could be the direction that you go into more, and you're sort of open to going in that direction as well?
Well, when I first was told that I could channel and was introduced to the master, I cried for a month. Actually, I thought, no, I'm a management consultant. I don't do this stuff. But once I started it, I did practice very, very hard. I practiced 5 times a day. I really did my work because I'm sort of someone that might get a bit emotional at times when I'm dealing with a deep fear, but then I just become the pragmatist and say, okay, if I've got a talent here, I want to learn to use it well, and that's exactly what I did. And so for the first 3 years of my professional work as the Gap Coach, I did nothing but channeling, because if you're channeling the wisdom of an ascended master, particularly someone as practical, as simple, and as wise as Lao Tzu, you've got to do an awful lot to top him, really. And so I just did that. And then it changed slightly because I didn't like the fact that he would share so much of my private life and use me as an example. And I said, Master, could you not do that, please? And he said, oh, no, my dear. Why do you think you've had these experiences to share? Because that's what's going to help others. I was like, okay, all right. So I dealt with that. And then he said after that, okay, now we're a double act. I will do the channeling. I will use you to bring through the information that I want to share with the client, and you will do the classic coaching work. So then it became a double act. And then we developed little workshops around that. And then the next big push was, okay, that you've got a big course to do. And that was the Master of Intuition course. And that really is the mainstay of my work. It's the Master of Intuition course. It's what wows people. And it's what I absolutely adore, because I use everything I have ever learned in my life, whether it's one of my business skills or one of my private passions. It doesn't matter. And that gives me, in a way, I mean, it's wonderful being the Master's channel. I have to say I'm not a trance channel, but I don't remember anything I've said.
You really don't? Nothing remembered. And
I don't remember anything.
Okay, so these workshops, is this in front of what you would call an audience, a medium-sized audience?
What? The Master of Intuition course, or the other workshops?
Well, okay, then have you ever done any of this? Have you ever brought this master through in front of an audience?
It's too many times to number.
Yeah.
And all around the world.
Yeah. Okay. So do you ever find it difficult to trust what's going to come through? Is it hard to sit in front of people and not really understand what may come through, thinking it may, is this my voice in a sense? You have to trust yourself a lot, don't you, to take this in front of people, surely?
Yeah, you do, but it doesn't stop you. I think I must have made. No, sorry, I will give you what's coming through. Apparently, my soul signature, a bit like a fingerprint, is integrity. So I've spent all of my lifetimes going from complete integrity to total lack of integrity. And it's the first thing that my clients say about me. I trust you. I want to work with you. You know, I only want to do this work with you, which is wonderful.
Okay.
While I'm not a trance channel, I do hear what I'm saying, and then I forget it immediately afterwards. So let me explain just very briefly what happens when I channel. And that is, I feel the master come in. I feel my energy completely changing. I feel it becoming more and more difficult for me to speak at my normal pace, with my normal inflection. That all changes. And it's like I'm part of the sea. There is an energy that ebbs and flows, and I am part of that energy. But there's a part of me that remains. It's not that I get taken over.
Yeah.
I don't, because the master borrows my body because he needs a physical voice.
And who is this master? Who was this master?
Well, he is called Lord Lanto in the Western metaphysical traditions. He was, in one of his past lives, Lao Tzu, the father of the Tao.
The father of the Tao, right? Okay.
So when I feel him come into me, my voice seems to change a lot for me. Certainly the words that I use, and it feels very much, and clients back me up on this. They agree. They say that it's like talking to a very wise granddad. So the language is different. The words are words that I wouldn't normally use, although they're obviously in my vocabulary. Otherwise, he wouldn't get them to use. But it seems to be an old-fashioned English. When I speak, it slows down. But there is a part of my brain, and if you like, you could say it's the left brain, that functions frantically. And the inner critic is at times very strong.
Yes.
You don't know what you're talking about. This is rubbish. You know, this is you, because you're just saying the same old platitudes time and time again. And then suddenly I'll realize that the person that the master's talking to is crying. I'll get the energy of their release, their emotional release. And I'll go, no way is this a platitude. This is exactly what was needed.
Yeah. No. I can only tell you how I felt when I watched the videos. You know, it was vast, not sympathy, knowledge. It was knowing. It was lovely to watch. It was.
Right.
You know, you know, there is definitely something there, as I believe there is, from you know, using my own intuition from it. But it must be a great. It must be great for you to have that. I suppose there's always a gift of a curse to anything that we're good at, in a sense. But it must feel great to just be at peace with and to know that this is your soul calling right now.
It's a blast. I mean, it's hard work. A lot is asked of me. I am asked to. Everybody thinks that because you work or you channel an ascended master, that you can ask him or her whatever you want and get the answers straight away. No way. This is the father of the Tao, and in the Tao, the student is expected to do their work. And then the master doesn't give them the answer. The master gives them another piece of the Zen jigsaw.
Yeah.
So a lot is asked of me, but also a lot is given because to feel the energy of someone who's letting go of years of pain, and to see and feel the energy change in the room with you in the space of sometimes 5 minutes, but definitely within the hour's session, is just such a gift. It is unbelievable to know that you are part of that. You feel unbelievably honored, incredibly humbled, on a high like nothing else can give you, exhausted and energized at the same time.
Do you? Okay, so there must be a magnitude of different reasons for clients to come and see you for your work, and for their healing process. And what are some of the most common themes that people come to see you for?
Okay, well, if we're doing every time I arrive in a city, I always, I say I, but we always do a free session. And if you ask people who don't know me, because it's the first time they've come to one of these sessions, why they've come, many of them will say curiosity. Those who do know my work and have been in the presence of the Master's energy before will come because they just want to be in that love. They want to be in that acceptance. They want to be in that energy. One of my clients said, the first time I heard you, I knew that no human would be capable of that amount of love, that amount of acceptance, and that amount of wisdom. It was otherworldly. It was so powerful. And she signed up. You know, the 2-year Master of Intuition course is one hell of a commitment to make, and it doesn't come cheap. I mean, I try and keep the costs down, but there are expenses to it. And she signed up straight away. She just went, no. If I get the chance to, work for 2 years with this energy, then I'd be mad not to take it. So there's that. When people come for coaching, they usually come, or channeling, they usually come because they feel stuck in some way.
Yeah.
They feel stuck in some pain, stuck in some confusion. Their energy's stuck because it's not the time for them to move forward, because they're in a period of gestation, but they haven't quite got that. And so they can come usually because they don't feel, as the French say, happy in their skin. They're fighting something. They're not accepting.
Yeah. And are you all clients from all over the world in a sense?
Yeah. I mean, I've done quite a lot of work in places like Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, Iceland, Norway. I do a ton of work in Sweden, Denmark, all over Europe. So yes.
Wow.
I have to say, I don't travel quite so much now. It's not required of me. What is required of me is to develop more stuff online. So
yes, that's the way it's going. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way it's going.
Is that clients able to sort of catch you through Skype, or when you say that's the way? I mean, are we talking about more YouTube orientated work you're thinking of doing, or?
Oh well, there's a lot of stuff to go onto YouTube, but we're holding back because over the last 18 months, I've had to virtually stop most of my work because of health problems, mainly with my back. And so it's been my period of gestation, and also going into the core shame that I have, that was very deep and very nasty. And it's taken a long time for me to be able to bring that up safely and get it out of me. But it has freed so much of my energy. So it's been a gestation period. I've known that I couldn't, travel around the world at the rate of knots anymore. It wasn't for me. I needed more balance. And so we've already, as you've seen, done some YouTube stuff. There's a lot more stuff to go on. I use Facebook daily for things like, I love quotations. And so I share quotations that mean something to me, that just help you with the various aspects of your intuition. Pinterest, I do the same thing, but it's more image orientated. we're developing, we have already started a monthly online meditation program for mindfulness practices and for a meditation each month that will help you get closer to or introduce you to another aspect of yourself. And we use a lot of archetypes through that because that's central to my work. I'm started now doing free webinars on intuition. I coach clients online. So Facebook, Pinterest, YouTube, webinars, and the website. You can find me on all of those at The Gap Coach.
Okay.
And the best way to keep up with what I'm doing and the new developments is literally through the Gap Coach page on Facebook.
Right. Well, we're going to link that to the the show. So okay. Well, we're just going to take a short break. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back after this.
The Moore Show is in partnership with Ozark Mountain Publishing, taking readers beyond the unexplained.
If you like what you watch, then don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates on The Moore Show. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new weekly television and radio shows.
The Moore Show is supported by Mindscape, Paranormal and UFO Matrix magazines, available for download on all major digital platforms. Broadcasting from the studios of Radio Cardiff, you're now watching The Moore Show.
Welcome back. I'm still joined with my guest, Suzanna Axisa. Suzanna, welcome back to the show.
Hi.
Fascinating interview with yourself, Suzanna, and thank you for staying up this early in the morning. I mean, what time is it there now? It must be gone 4 o'clock in the morning, is it?
Yeah, it is. It is 11 minutes past 4.
11 minutes past 4. Well, I can only say that this must be your calling. Yeah, it's when we find our calling and we're doing what we love to do, there's nothing stops us, does it? I mean, it's you just feel so centered. Everything feels right, and it's horrible when you lose that feeling, isn't it?
It is, but I have to say that I worked for quite a few years in the City of London, and that has its very own way of working, which is work really hard and play really hard. And one thing I've been required to do doing this work is actually to go for long walks every day and not do 16-hour days work anymore. So it's a real revelation that it's almost as though the less I do, the more space there is for my intuition to work. And because it's working the way it should work, then I become really so much more productive when I am working. So it's a complete revelation for me. Okay.
Well, yeah, because what you're saying there, in a sense, is to help you get over that issue of having lost your way. You've got to first of all get back in contact with your intuition, with your gut feeling, in a sense of what feels. What drives your soul to what is it that drives you to that you really would love to do?
Yeah,
and it's giving yourself that space. I think that's what you're saying.
Yes, absolutely. Space and permission to have that space as well. And I think a lot of us have a lot of difficulty with that, especially if we're fairly driven or have perfectionist tendencies, or we have a strong inner critic. Then, you'll have things, your inner critic will say, God, what are you doing? Do something useful, do something.
Yes.
I mean, what is it that a lot of spiritual teachers say? We've become human doings instead of human beings. And it's really true. So I completely agree with you. When you're on track and you're doing the thing that you were born to do, however hard you're working, it never feels as hard as when you're working on something that you weren't born to do.
Yes, and I mean, I'll be honest. I've lost my I suppose you'd call it calling just right now. In this moment. And I said to my producer, "Oh, it's funny that you're coming on board for the interview." At the time, when I'm saying to myself, "Have I ever listened to my gut feeling for the past 10 years?" I don't know.
Interesting.
I don't know. I think I must have done at some points to get to where I've got, but life just has felt recently very dissatisfying, absolutely. And I think it's some of the case of the more you know. What's the saying? There's a saying that I was saying to someone earlier on. I was saying, it's something like the more you know. That's it. Ignorance is bliss. Ignorance is bliss, as in the sense as you become more spiritually aware, there is no turning back. You can't go back beyond the level of awakening. And when you have awoken to a truth that that life continues, that this is not what it's all about. This is not real, in a sense that there is there is a bigger purpose to being here. Yeah. It doesn't make it any easier, does it, to sometimes get on with the day-to-day, finding that passion of what you really want, of bringing that passion back, or when issues arise. It's still difficult, isn't it? And I can imagine lots of people going through this process, especially with some of the clients that you must meet as well.
Yes, but I'm sorry. I had half an ear on words that were coming through to me. About your situation. So is it all right if I tell you?
Oh yes, absolutely. Yes, let's share away.
Okay, all right. The reason I'm asking is because we're on air. I know that anything that comes to me, it's okay for me to share.
It's
but because
absolutely
air,
fine. Don't worry. Yes, absolutely.
So you said that once you become spiritually aware, there's no going back. There isn't, but there is a standing still. And what's happening with you is that you're standing still for a moment, and it's fine, because you're in a gestation period where, like me, you'll change focus slightly.
Yes.
But you need this time, you need this frustration, because the frustration will help you to overcome any fears or anything else that may keep you where you are. Because where you are, we all do it at times, don't we? It's preferable to stay where we are. What do you say? Better the devil you know than the devil you don't know.
Absolutely.
But most of us don't recognize our gestation periods, because we see the symptom, and the symptom is frustration. But the cause is that something is maturing within us and for us.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's difficult to see that sometimes, isn't it? When you're in the midst of it all, yeah. And this was the point of some of the texts, which I'll get to in a minute as well, because I did mention it before we was going to get to, and we will. I mean, this is why, giving yourself that meditation period, and meditation can, it could just be, being out in the back garden, talking out loud to the things that you'd like to achieve, or being in a moment of peace with yourself. Even the silence is, the meditation. It doesn't have to be sat there, closing your eyes and, and sort of drifting away. I mean, there are other ways, I'm sure there are, for meditation.
And meditation can simply be a daydream as well.
A daydream, that's right. Yeah, it can be. But at least giving yourself some space, and at least attempting to do something to give yourself that bit of quiet time as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll before I get to the text as well. I mean, there was I mean, what would you say are some of the tools that that if we wanted to get in contact with our intuition? What would be if we couldn't come to see someone like yourself? What would be some of the practical ways of doing that?
Okay, well, the first thing that I work on, and I work on solidly for a year with my clients, is emotional intelligence. And it's absolutely indispensable. You cannot go anywhere without it, because it's the only way that you can build the trust in yourself and the self-compassion for yourself when, as you were describing so beautifully, the frustration that you get at times when you aren't moving forward, or something doesn't feel right, or you can feel energy coming towards you, so there is the desire to move, but you're not yet ready, and so you can't move, and you're stuck in that sticky treacle or molasses phase where you can see where you want to go, or that you've got to go, but you just can't do it because the energy is just too thick to move through. So emotional intelligence is absolutely indispensable. And most of that is cognitive work, I have to say. Anything to do with energy psychology, and by this I mean tapping. When you're aware that you've got an old belief that's standing in your way, then tap it. Do a past life regression. Go to family constellation. And do some work on it. All three are relatively pain-free ways to get rid of, just to release blocked energy that is there because of your undigested pain, really. And the other big thing to do, remember that earlier on in this interview today, we were talking about the 3 foundation stones of intuition. Then do work on your sensory perception and your sensory intelligence. And again, this is slightly more difficult because there are quite a few emotional intelligence experts out there. If you can't find one, then a great starting point is Daniel Goleman's book, brilliant psychologist who blew the Western world apart in the 1990s with his book, Emotional Intelligence. It is a fantastic piece of work. It gives you choices. With sensory intelligence, it's a little bit more difficult because I don't know that many people. In fact, I think I only know one really and she's in America, who does work on what I call the below the radar senses. And these are the senses that are not sight, sound, taste, touch, the 5 senses. These are other senses that were developed in the psychic spy programs in Russia and America. These are senses that are being understood through neuroscience.
Yeah.
But find a good sensory intelligence teacher.
Right.
And if you don't have the money to work with me, then sign up to my Facebook page and get onto one of the live free webinars. And you'll get an introduction. You'll start to find out what it's about, and that will give you a better indication of where you want to go and perhaps the sort of teacher that you need.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Now, we have a number of texts here. I'm just going to try to move them through them as quickly as I can do. Now, this is Simon from Simon from Cardiff, and I'm going to just condense his text down. Basically, he's saying that he, his painful past, a painful breakup that he went through, has always caused him problems in his current relationship, and how can he use some of the sort of ideas that you've brought forward in this conversation to help him?
Yeah, great question. All of us, I think, have had painful breakups, and it is an enormous source of nutrients I call them nutrients, extra energy that we can use to reach much more of our potential, and extra wisdom, because the key to painful experiences is understanding why you had it. Okay. And when you understand why you had that painful experience, then you can start to look at what the gift is. So, for example, I'll give you an example from my own life. It's always easier to do it that way. I met my twin flame that's a much stronger connection than a soulmate about 10 years ago. And twin flame relationships are amazingly intense. And so what this relationship did was make me give up my fears and move further into trust. And my partner was absolutely brilliant at that. And then one morning he said, "I really love you, but not the way you love me." And so that was the end of the relationship. And I was torn apart. I just thought, I have waited all my life. I have done my work all of my life for this relationship. And now it seems as though it's going to be taken away from me. And I'd done enough work on myself to know, well, there's a reason for this. So stay with the pain. Okay. And that was an intuitive knowing, stay with this pain. So in staying with the gut-wrenching, visceral pain, I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. I'm slim anyway, and I dropped 10 kilos.
Right.
I couldn't do anything but the most basic things. And the whole of my being was given over to the pain, which was phenomenal. But what happened was, in staying with the pain of the breakup, I actually dissolved the pain of other times in my life when I'd felt rejected.
Okay.
And so it was a huge lifting of rejection pain, just dissolved. And the gift behind it was, no one can reject me unless I reject myself. And so I'm going to work on what I need to do to never reject myself again.
Okay. I mean,
so from that comes gratitude, that this was a great experience for me. I am really glad I went through it. This ex-partner, we don't talk very much now. We live on opposite sides of the world, but every so often he'll write, and he always calls me Angel. And we will always, we will always be twin flames. Obviously, there's nothing we can do about that. We will always have an enormously special relationship. Will we get together again? I've no idea. It doesn't matter. But for now, both of us are happy with where we are in the relationship. And he gave me the gift of understanding that no one could reject me, and if I didn't reject myself. So the key was, sweetie, it's time for you to stop rejecting yourself.
And that could, I mean, I can go into a whole different type of questions with that, but I'm going to stick with the texts because these people have held on. But thank you very much for that beautiful answer.
Well, I hope it helped.
Yes, I hope it helps.
Name, but I really hope it helped.
Yeah. Okay, well, Robert from Newport. Robert, thank you for your text. Again, condensing it, basically, how do I find my calling? That's what he's asking. How can he find his calling?
I'm so glad that someone asked this. It is, I think, possibly the question that is asked most of the answer, most of the master. And the answer is have fun. We don't have nearly enough fun. We take things far too seriously. We are over-focused on the busyness, the duties and responsibilities of life. You don't find your calling until you allow yourself time to play.
Do you
And
hear
do
that, Robert?
do things not because they make sense, because they'll lead to some form of benefit, but because they make you smile and you feel drawn to doing them. Because your calling is in your passion. So how can you find it if you're not allowing yourself fun, laughter, being, silly like a kid?
Yeah, I mean that's a great answer. I mean, and I know we got some texts in from London and a few other places. I'm sorry that we've not got through to you. We will reply off air, but if you want to email us, we will. If you want to email us your details, and of course we'll forward them on to Suzanna. So we'll look at your website and your webinars and where people can find out more information about you.
Well, as I say, at the moment, because everything is being radically rewritten, the website is not really an accurate reflection of the sort of work I do and where I am with it now. The only things that are reliable is the piece of information on the front, on the home screen, and the Master of Intuition course and the Practitioner's course. Everything else is a bit out of date, and I'm getting to bit by bit. So the best place to link up with me is on my Facebook page, The Gap Coach.
Okay, so that's the best place to get you on.
That's the best place.
Yeah. Well, we'll link that up onto this show as well.
Okay.
And we'll put that on the website, and so anyone that's looking for yourself can find that information. And I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today. It's been I really do appreciate you coming on and staying up so late to share this fascinating information. And I'd love to get you back on.
Oh, well, I would so love to come on. It's been you've been a great host. You've asked great questions, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So kudos to you.
Well, thank you very, very much. Well, we've come to an end on tonight's show. Don't forget that you can listen and watch all our past interviews on the More Show's official YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new daily shows, and you may also find out more on all past and upcoming shows and guests via themoreshow.co.uk, and do remember to like us on Facebook and Twitter. So until next time, be safe.
Visit themoreshow.co.uk/shop to purchase products and services from your favourite past guests. If you're new to this site, you can also catch up on the previous television and radio shows through YouTube and the More Show website.